Hello, David. Good afternoon, and welcome to the podcast.
How are we doing? Good to see
Good.
you.
Watching film of Southern Miss right now against Liberty. Um, we talked a couple times on the spaces, but when I looked at Southern Miss last week, I know that we talked about Gore, but I see Southern Miss made some stops on fourth down on that first series against Liberty. Uh, what do you think they're going to do this week differently against Miami than what they did against Liberty?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting question. I think Miami has a better quarterback. Obviously, I mean they obviously have a better quarterback. They're Miami, but they have a quarterback that's going to throw the ball better than what Liberty had to offer. So they might change some things up to kind of fit that a little bit more. Liberty had some, especially after Charlie Brewer went out of the game, they had some very mobile quarterbacks. So they're probably gonna play a lot of nickel. They do a lot of that anyway. And they're gonna try to use creative fronts, creative blitz packages to get to the quarterback as much as possible. That's something that Austin Armstrong really loves. He does a lot of that. So yeah, I mean, look, I mean, there's going to be weapons all over the field for Miami. They're going to be among the best that Southern Miss is going to play all season. So it's going to be a case of picking your poison and just doing whatever you can to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I noticed their schedule after this game. I mean, it gets very favorable for them after Saturday.
Yeah, I mean they've got Northwestern State. That's an FCS team. They should win that game. Then they have to go to Tulane, which I think is a very interesting game because that's where Will Hall, their head coach, kind of made his name as an offensive coordinator. Willie Fritz, really good head coach. But yeah, and then they start Sun Belt play. This is their first year in the Sun Belt. So, I mean, I think they can get to six wins, which is kind of the goal this year. Get to 6 or 7, see if you can get in a bowl game. I think there's a reasonable roadmap to do it. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think people are really looking forward to seeing how they do in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I like to see the Sun Belt. I look at the prediction here, and I'm reading up on it now. I mean, when I look at Southern Miss, I mean, yes, we made a lot. Miami made a mistakes the first game, and if you look at that, they're going to try to load up the box and dare Southern Miss to try to go downfield. That's not going to go too well for them. But one thing I've noticed when I watched the Liberty game is their defensive front is one that could give Miami a little trouble early on.
Yeah, I mean, um, they have a lot of new faces on their defensive front. They brought in several Power Five transfers on the defensive front. They're very athletic. Avery Habas, who he's kind of half linebacker, half edge rusher, had a really good game against Liberty. So he's somebody you got to watch as well. Look, this defense is solid. I mean, it's I'm looking forward to seeing how they do against a team like Miami because I'm high on the defense. I think they have some really talented players, probably one or two future NFL players on the defense. So I'll be interested to see what they do.
Yeah, I look at that Southern Miss team pretty well. I mean, if you look at Miami, I mean, I look at Southern Miss. I mean, this is a team that, like you said, like we talked the other day, they committed what 10 penalties and committed 5 turnovers.
Yeah, 5 turnovers,
My
and if
God.
if you do that against Miami, it is not going to go well for you. So we'll
No,
see.
absolutely
That's
not. I mean, you
yeah.
look at that team, and I've noticed a lot of good things in Southern Miss. I mean, I'm trying to find their depth chart. I know they came out with it today. What stands out to you when you look at that week 2 depth chart?
I guess the news there is that Zach Wilkie is now the backup quarterback, which means he's really the first string quarterback because Ty Keys is hurt.
Hmm.
So, and then you look at, again, actually today in practice, they lost one of their starting wide receivers, Brandon
Ooh,
Hayes. He went down, he had to get carted off.
boy, that
So
stinks. That
we'll
stinks.
see. We'll see what happens there. But you look at the defensive depth chart. There's a lot of depth. Like you know, it's not too much different from what we saw in week one. But a couple notable changes.
Yeah, I looked at that too, and then when I watch them, I mean, this is a team that you can't. When I look at it, it's like you can't make a lot of mistakes against a team like Miami and expect to win. That's just not going to cut it. I mean, you have to. And I've looked, like I said, when I'm watching the game now, and the one again, Frank Gore Jr. is one guy that he's their to be. When I look at him, he's going to be their offense this year.
Yeah, I mean, especially now that CANES is injured, and his backup is a true freshman, they're going to run a lot of that wildcat formation. They call it the super back here.
Uh-huh.
They're going to run a ton of that, and that's going to be Frank Gore. I think he had 32 carries against Liberty, which is like a huge number. That might be the most in his career. I did not look that up. I suspect it probably is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Go ahead,
I think he'll do that again this Saturday. I really do. I think they'll feed him.
And the thing I look at, I look and I watch a little bit of Southern Miss. I mean, they play hard. I mean, if it weren't for the mistakes, they might have won that game against Liberty.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think they fumbled twice inside the 5 yard line, and you get rid of those. I mean, that's a double-digit win, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But again, they have to learn how to not make those mistakes because it's not a new problem, right? They did it for a lot of last season as well.
uh-huh.
So that's gotta stop. That's item number one on the list.
Yeah, and I look at them here. I mean, number two. I mean, you look at them right off the bat. I mean, if I look at Southern Miss when I watch them, the little I've watched them, I said this team, like I said, is super back. Number 5 is their quarterback. I take it.
Yeah, but he's injured. I'd be surprised if he plays. That's
All right.
Tykees. Yep.
Who's the backup again? You said.
Number 12, who didn't play last week. That's
Oh,
Zach Wilkie.
okay. So what do you know about what can you tell us about Zach Wilkie?
So he's a true freshman. This is going to be his collegiate debut on the road against number 15 Miami. Apologies, there's a train going by my office here.
Don't worry about it.
But he is, he's got all the arm talent in the world. Like, I was just on another show, and I said, I've covered Power 5 football, and his arm talent would not look out of place, at a Power 5 institution. He's pretty mobile. The thing is, right, like, does he at this point have the confidence, have the experience, have the knowledge of the offense and of the challenges that defenses are going to present, in order to play well? That's the rub. So, I guess we're going to find out. But I would expect, and Will Hall hasn't said this, this is just, an educated guess.
Yeah.
I would expect to see more of that Wildcat superback than traditional quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Southern Miss. I mean, when I watch them, I said, "Hey, this team is like, if they don't make the mistakes, I think they have a pretty decent shot." But come on, I mean, look, I mean, we blew out Bethune-Cookman 70-13 last week. Miami did, but then although Southern Miss is not going to be much competition to be quite honest. But let's remember, they lost, like you said, Liberty lost Charlie Brewer against Southern Miss, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Broke his hand.
Yep.
Wow. I like that train, by the way, in the background.
It's the hub city for a reason. Lots of
Yes,
trains.
I'm seeing that. I am seeing that. I'm understanding that. I'm a big train enthusiast, by the way. Yeah, I've looked at the ESPN match predictor. Southern Miss 3.7% chance of winning, and then when I watch them here, I mean, you look at them going into this game. I mean, when I look at Southern Miss, they gave up 300, almost 400 yards of total offense against Liberty, and yet still had a chance to win that ball game late.
Yeah, I think a lot of that came in the fourth quarter. Caden Salter, I think his last name. I forget his last name, but he's the third string Liberty quarterback, came in and just tore them up. He gave them a really hard time with his mobility. That's something they really struggled with. They really struggled, to my surprise, to contain quarterbacks on the ground in that Liberty game. And he drove them right down the field twice in that fourth quarter. Once he threw an interception in the end zone. Second time he threw a game tying touchdown. So they were dominant for 3 quarters and then, really not very good at all in the fourth there. But yeah, it should be a big challenge for them, no doubt.
Yeah, going in, I look at this matchup when we play Southern Miss Miami, that is. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke, how have they prepared for Tyler Van Dyke this week so far?
It's a good question. I don't know how much you really can prepare for a guy who might be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft next spring. But they're doing their best. Will Hall was really complimentary of him. He just said, I think I'm trying to recall his quote. I think he said, he's a guy that if he keeps playing, if he keeps growing as he has over the last season, that he's going to play football for a long time. And he was really complimentary of the weapons that he has and the scheme that he's in. So look, I mean, the talent here that Southern Miss is gonna face is just like it's not anything that they're gonna see on their schedule for the rest of the year.
No,
So
and here's the thing I noticed what Miami's offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis was quoted as saying this week. He even said Southern Miss blitzed close to 50% of the defensive snaps against Liberty, and we talked about Austin Armstrong being the youngest FBS defensive coordinator in the country. I mean, did you get the sense you're going to see them blitz more in this game, or you're going to probably see them do more of the same?
He loves to blitz, so I suspect it'll be around the same number. Maybe even a little bit more. I don't know how mobile Tyler Van Dyke is, but if they don't have to worry about him using his legs as much, I could see them potentially sending more pressure. But yeah, that's a trademark of this defense. He's going to send blitzes. He's going to send creative blitzes. And he's going to line up with 5 defensive backs in the field most of the time and just kind of see where it takes them and be really creative.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that depth chart there. I'm looking at a couple things here. And like I said, we playing when you go up against a team like Miami, you have to be ready to play. There's a lot of weapons in there. In fact, Miami's coach Mario Cristobal said he has a lot of respect for Will Hall. Will Hall, he's an up and coming mind in this game. I mean, he's a very good coach. He was a very good coach. And in fact, think about this: Will Hall was reportedly a candidate that Mario Cristobal wanted him on his staff. That's how highly he respects Will Hall.
Interesting. I did not know that. You taught me something.
In fact, Mario Cristobal said this week, and I quote, "He is a guy I know very, very well. I have tremendous respect for him, and he is one of the better football minds I have ever been around. If you dig deep into his time at the different stops he has been at, you see a ton of success at the championship level. Of course, he was at Tulane in 2019. He was their offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
And they averaged 33.1 points a game and 449 yards per game. That was this guy's a pretty good coach. When I look at his record, 56-20 in his stops at West Alabama and West Georgia at the D2 level. Yep. This guy knows how to coach.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's got to find a quarterback. That's the big thing for them right now. But it's funny, he was talking a little bit about Mario Cristobal as well, and there's kind of an interesting parallel in that these are both guys who kind of went home, right? Mario Cristobal is a South Florida guy. Will Hall is like Mr. Mississippi. So
yeah,
there's a parallel there. They're both trying to build up programs that they grew up loving. So there's an interesting lineage between them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed what Mario said about Southern Miss. Like you said, we said they blitz, they bring pressure almost on 50% of the time. They'll jump. Mario Cristobal said they'll jump in on an odd front. They'll come with a 4 down front, corner fire, Sam blitz, nickel fire, you name it. They'll plug in. Will Armstrong's going to plug in a lot of different defenses in this game, and they do a very good job mixing up coverages. And I noticed that a little bit in the Liberty game. Like you said, you think you'll see, like you said, you'll see a lot of that from them, in my opinion. And he was very impressed with Malik Shorts. What do you know about Malik Shorts? I know he's been a very good player, had 12 tackles in the opener.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He's an athlete, man. I mean, he's 6 foot, 202 pounds, at safety, and he's got great mobility. He's got a nose for the football. Yeah, I mean, he's a really good player. I would not be surprised, if there's NFL interest in him when his season is over, when his career is over. He's that type of guy. But he had a really good game against Liberty. Eric Scott, another guy in the secondary who I thought was very good. The secondary as a whole is very strong, in my opinion. But again, Miami's a different beast.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the defense against Liberty. I mean, like you said, they come with different looks and they do a good job stopping the run too.
Yeah, they were pretty good against the run against Liberty, no doubt. Designed runs again. The quarterback runs kind of got them, but I thought they have a guy, an Ole Miss transfer, Gill, at middle linebacker, who I think is a heck of a player, just a really, really, really good player. I was impressed by their defensive front as well. I thought their defensive front played well. TQ Newsome, another guy in the middle who's strong. Swayze Bozeman, I think, is in his 5th or 6th year of college football, really experienced. So they have experienced and talented and physical guys in that front seven to help with one run block or run stopping, no doubt.
Like you said, with Frank Gore Jr. coming back to Miami. I mean, we all know his dad played at the University of Miami. Great running back, Hall of Famer Frank Gore Sr. Is there any extra pressure, have you noticed, from Frank Gore Jr. this week, or is he just downplaying it as much as he can?
I don't get the sense that, I talked to him. I sat down with him for about 20 minutes yesterday for a story that's going to come out on Thursday. And, he just kind of said, like, I'm excited to go home. He's got, I think, over 100 people that are going to be there for him. But he said, I'm more excited about us, and I think that's kind of what his focus is right now. He's a really, I think he's underrated in his leadership ability. He's a guy that's really important to them in that regard. And I think he's done a good job, after the Liberty game, kind of getting them back up and getting the minds where they need to be.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when you look at it carefully, I think this guy, his dad was a very quiet guy when he was here, but when the lights came on, he was the kind of guy that really stepped it up considerably. But we all know, like you said, Southern Miss's defense is going to be very disruptive. They're very disruptive against Liberty, and I've noted. I'm watching their film, and they're gonna present some problems for us. I could tell you that for sure. They had 11 tackles for loss in that 4 overtime game. But they did allow 447 yards of offense to Liberty. But they, like I said, Gaddis blitzes a lot. Like they said, their coordinator blitzes a lot. So we're going to have to be aware of that. So what other players do we have to watch for Southern Miss on Saturday?
The other guy who I would really highlight is Jason Brownlee.
Okay.
Really, really strong, physical wide receiver, deep threat. He only caught 1 pass against Liberty, but that's, probably because they ran the Wildcat for the entire second half, more than anything. But, he's a guy who passed up on opportunities to play the game at a higher level this offseason. He is, he's a big guy, 6'3", 202 pounds. He's a really excellent wide receiver. He's probably, for my money, it's between him and Gore to be their top offensive player. And then you look elsewhere. Jacarius Caston, another very exciting wide receiver. I'm excited to see what he does. He's a slot guy, so he had a couple big plays against Liberty as well. You'll kind of look on defense. I think I talked a little bit about Avery Habas. Mm-hmm. You got guys on the front like Armandus Cooley and Quentin Bevins, who are both, very strong. Tylen Knight at the star, the nickel position. A really good player, another Power 5 guy who made the move to Southern Miss. So, there's some players to take note of for sure. And players who have been in similar environments to this, I think.
Yeah, this is what Mario Cristobal said about Frank Gore Jr. I'm going to quote Mario Cristobal now. He's a stud. He leads the country in yards per game. Right now, he's had 180 yards per game, patient runner, and the great ones see it. They feel it. They know when to hit it, when to throttle, and when they finish, they finish. He's a contact and thorough type of guy. first guy that rarely brings him down, very versatile. Obviously, they use him in all kinds of stuff, right? In the wildcat, or as you call it, the super back.
Yep.
And when they chuck the ball around, he's a good receiver and a good football player. We all know who he reminds us of. I, of course, referring to Senior. But what about with their regular quarterback? You're saying not going to play this game. What do we who how mobile is their other quarterback?
He's not as mobile. Ty Keys is like who I don't expect to play, is like a real true a real dual threat guy.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilkie will run. He has some wheels. He's not, a stiff statue back there by any means, but it's probably not as big a part of his game, I would
Okay.
say.
Yeah, and I look at that. I'm looking at them here. Number 8. Who's number 8 for them? I'm looking at him now.
That's Trey Lowe.
Trey
He
Lowe
came in
on defense.
very briefly, threw an interception, and then didn't come in the second half.
Wow. I mean that defense is pretty. That defense, like they said, they blitz 50% of the time. You're gonna probably see that on Saturday. David, I'm gonna get you out of here on a prediction. Give me your keys to the game for Southern Miss to put if
Sure.
they have any remote shot of pulling the upset.
Sure. I mean, number one, we've talked about it, right? Is turnovers. They can't. I mean, they probably can't turn the ball over at all if they want to, have a shot at winning this game. Maybe you can get away with one, but then beyond that, you look at. I think they're going to try correctly, in my opinion, to make this a short game. They're good. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna try to control the clock. They're gonna try to, grind this out with their defense and their running game. So, that might be the second option. And number 3 is, can they connect on a big play or two? They only had 3 chunk plays against Liberty. I think they'll probably need a couple more than that in this game. And, that whether they come on the ground or, with Wilkie or even Frank Gore throwing the ball, because he's shown that he can do that. I think they're going to need to find a way to make that happen.
I've noticed something about Southern Miss. People don't know this, but I think they're one of the most experienced teams in the entire country going
Yep.
into this game.
Yep. Yeah.
Bill Conley had them rated very high. In fact, the 5th highest returning production nationally in the country at 84% from last season. I mean, I found that pretty amazing when I see it. I mean, yeah, like you said, Keys will not play this game. You're saying?
Yeah, that's an assumption.
Keys out. You figure the backup's going to be. We know about Gore Jr., Brownlee. You talked about earlier. Their offensive line. What can you tell us about their offensive line? I know led by Gergwan Scott. I mean, the guy's probably one of the most experienced players on their line.
Yeah, so they hired a new offensive line coach this offseason in Sam Gregg, who again their offensive line last season was probably one of the 5 worst in college football.
Wow.
And in PFF's efficiency ratings that they have, I think they were bottom 10 in both run blocking and pass blocking efficiency. Yeah. I thought they were fine against Liberty, which there's that train again. Sorry, is a massive upgrade for them, just being fine instead of a big problem. I think they gave up 1 sack in the entire game, and that was on a weird kind of funky trick play. And they averaged close to 5 yards a rush when pretty much everybody knew that was coming. So I thought they played pretty well. They played much better than I thought they would, to be totally honest.
And then I look at 2 players on the defense. Armandus Cooley, who came in from redshirt from Mississippi State, 6'5", 6'3", 305. He had 3 tackles and played 33 snaps on the nose. And then you have Quentin Bevins, who's also a 305-pounder. I mean, he had 49 snaps, 2 tackles, 1 for loss against Liberty. But the one I really look at is Swazi Bozeman, 6'3", 224. I mean, the guy's a pretty good backer.
Yeah, he's really experienced. Like I said, I think he didn't play for the majority of the season last year. He suffered an injury. He's been here forever. He's been around a really long time. He's really smart. He's tough. He's a classic linebacker, right? When you think about a linebacker, he has all of those traits. So he's a really important player, no doubt.
And I look at Malik Shorts, I mean, for them, 6 feet, 192 pounds. I
Yeah.
mean, what can you tell us about him?
Uh, really knows for the football. Very strong tackler, in my opinion. Physical guy, good in coverage. Again, really strong safety. Their secondary, in my opinion, is a really good unit.
Yeah, and then like I said, so for me, I'll give you my keys to the game. One, do what Miami did last week. I mean, do a better job on the backside. I mean, protecting, covering the backside a little better on defense. And mainly, our fan base has said mainly the key, mainly this, we're not going to get anybody hurt. Don't look ahead to Texas A&M next week in College Station, and basically just take care of business. So that's that. So, like I said, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna get you out on this. Give me a prediction for Saturday.
I think I went
I know you went
35-10 Miami.
okay,
Uh,
35-10 Miami.
yeah.
I'm gonna go 50. I'm gonna probably put maybe 55-17 Miami in this game. That's where I'm going. So, what, David? I want to take this time to thank you so much for coming on. I don't know if you're going to. I don't know if you're going to Miami on Saturday.
I'm not, unfortunately. I'm
Okay.
upset, but
Okay.
I'm going to be covering this one from home. But
Okay.
I
Yeah. Be coming from
appreciate you.
home. Listen. Enjoy. Watch the game Saturday. Enjoy. Take care. We'll talk soon.
All right, have a good one, Dan.